All right.
All right, y'all through eating so that we won't have bags rattling? Okay, I'll let you get your recording devices. And I believe everybody I see here is involved in some level in the cooler process that involves retreating. Now, I noticed a couple have not done any retreats. An oversight on my part to catch that, but once you're here, I'm glad you're here. It must be in divine order. But this is a gathering of those who are involved in the retreat level of solid. You know what I mean? Who have understood that, who have committed to it, and will be incorporated. Let you all get your refreshments out. All right. So, the purpose is to offer you an additional activity to be included on your day of perfect practice. I know that each of you, from your past reports relative to your day of practice, have your own agendas, and I've encouraged that, you have certain things you incorporated into that day. What I'm going to suggest to you that you might also want to incorporate a little of what we're going to discuss today as well. Because again, the goal of all sadhana is to overcome this misidentification within ourselves. That's the whole goal. That's the whole purpose. And everything else that we do must be ultimately in the service of overcoming and breaking this misidentification with the koshas as being who and what you are. And so there has been in every Upanishad, those of you who are familiar with the Upanishad, but even beyond the Upanishad, in all kinds of spiritual literature, across all the various traditions, Buddhists, obviously the Hindus and so forth, the goal that is outlined in every Upanishad is strictly about overcoming this misidentification of self within thyself. All of them will do that. You see? Just about all of them. And particularly in the Upanishads literature, any of those 108 or so Upanishads, they're going to be dealing with some very basic things. One, correcting your misunderstanding about the self. Overcoming this jiva jagat, the world, is vada, and the spiritual practice. What is and what is not authentic spiritual practice? These are the four kinds of ignorance that we suffer from. And every Upanishad is going to deal with it. Some of this stuff I'm not even going to go into in detail because you all are in a cooler process. You read a lot of this shit. I'm just mentioning some of this for those who haven't had the opportunity to be involved in the cooler process long enough to have reflected on these things. I expect the Mahants and other members of that cooler that such a person is in to bring them up to speed. I'm assuming that you are able to follow some of this terminology. It's like physics. You see, you have to understand what a quantum is. You have to understand the difference between a wave and a particle. We can't change the language of physics. We can't dumb it down. In some sense, there's only so much dumbing down of these teachings that can happen. You got to come up to them. That's the purpose of Swadhyaya. You see, get familiar with the terminology. see, that's on you, okay? So I won't have time to really get into too much of dumbing down here. So we're going to be talking now about another method by which you can use to help yourself overcome this misidentification with the not self. This is a sutra. It's not exactly a Upanishad, you see. Most of the Vedanta, there's more than one kind of Vedanta, obviously. There's the Advaita Vedanta. There's what they call the Vishishta Advaita, and then there's the Vaita. And each of them have different points of view. All of them, however, use some common text. But surely the Advaita of Sankaracharya is a little bit different from that of Ramanuja or Maha-Acharya. They're different. But what they do all have in common is that they recognize certain other texts that are not Upanishads per se. Some of those you're reading, like the ABD, that's not an Upanishad. Astara Raka Gita, that's not an Upanishad. Yoga Vashishta, that's not an Upanishad, you see. That's not at the end of the Vedas, you see. Those are separate texts. The Gita, that's not an Upanishad. Even the Bhagavad Gita is not an Upanishad per se, you see. But still they are respected because, again, they're dealing with the same thing. Overcoming the spiritual student's ignorance relative to their own true nature, jiva, the true nature of the world, jagat, and the true nature of that which brought the world into being, isvara, and the means by which you overcome that ignorance, sadhana, spiritual practice. Oftentimes called upasana, upadesha, and so forth and so on. And so today, since you all have been really benefited, I think we can agree, you all have been benefited from studying the ABDs. Everybody agree on that?
Yes.
It's been very useful?
Yes.
Good. And so hopefully this other text that and I'm not even going to give you the text, you don't even have to read the text as a cooler. You can pretty much now go through stuff on your own. You all are pretty sophisticated now. You know how to do this independently. Of course, you're most welcome to try to go through it together as well. One of the sutras that I thought I would offer to you for your consideration, it's called Drsya Viveka. She lives in Old Park yesterday. I couldn't help it. Drsya Viveka. And they got variant spellings. Sometimes it may be Drik, you see. Or sometimes it's called Drshti, in various versions of the same word, Drsya. But what it really means is the discrimination between the known and the knower. Drik, the knower. Drsya, the known. And Viveka, of course, is the ability to discriminate the difference between the knower and the known. Okay? And the principle that governs this kind of inquiry now is that the knower and the known cannot be the same. And you have to work with that a little bit. You see? The knower and the known cannot be the same. Now, as we move deeper into this, we will be making some terms, right? But the initial principle we're going to use to make the inquiry, the knife, the sword, the principle that's going to govern our inquiry is based on the fact that the knower and the known are different. Now, in Drsya, Viveka, in the sutra itself, we're just working off the first sloka. Did anybody got a copy? You got a copy. Okay, read me the first sloka. There's only 40 verses in this little scripture. Just 40. We're just going to deal with number 1. Number 1 is enough.
And they can just Google back.
Yeah.
Just as you wrote it,
Yeah.
and it comes up.
It comes up just like that?
As a
Okay.
PDF.
Okay, the PDF. And there are different translations by different swamis this, swami that, you see. So you may see some inconsistencies in the commentaries on it. I'm just giving you my little twist. I'm not a scholar of these things, okay? But I have some familiarity with the process, because we're not only going to be looking at it from the point of view of Viveka, we're going to be also looking to see how that Viveka can be turned into sadhana. Because Viveka that does not transition into sadhana is useless. Are you following my argument? So we're going to be talking about the Drsya, Viveka, and after we get into that some, keep in mind we want to be able to transfer that understanding into some form of sadhana so that we may be able to liberate ourselves a little bit more from this misidentification with the not self. See, so even in that language you can begin to feel this principle operating. If the task of spiritual development is to break your misidentification with the gross body, what is implicit in that is that you, the knower of the gross physical body, can't be it. Are you with me? Just the opposite of what you all been doing. You've been insisting that because I can know the body, therefore I am the body. But that's not possible. And Drsya is that argument provided by its author. And there's even controversy about who is the author of the Drsya. Some say Acharya, it's about 3 of them. Some other guy, I can't even remember his name. And then another guy named Vidyaranya. And Vidyaranya is also the author of Panchadasi Viveka. For those of you who have studied or read or will read the Panchadasi Viveka, well, the same author, you see. He also wrote commentaries on all the 4 Vedas. You know, he was a king, he was a boxer. I mean, he was Superman. He was many things, and brilliant. Very rare that you see a king that put together a dynasty in India that also had this kind of range. You know, he understood politics, he knew how to build an empire, he had 4 wives, so, you know, this brother was man, you see? And he wrote these beautiful commentaries on the Vedas, on the mantras and brahmanas that mix up the Vedas and so forth and so on. So equally brilliant, perhaps even more brilliant than Acharya, you see? So there was many, many very, very profound men and women, incidentally. That's one of the unique things, is that women have been some of the greatest contributors to this kind of sacred knowledge. Well, anyway, so we're going to start with this simple principle, okay? The knower and the known cannot be the same. Now, if we go through this here, we got to hold hands. You got to feel what I'm saying, not just store it at the intellectual level or leave it on your notepad. Feel this truth. So as we go through this, you got to feel how what is being argued is so in your own experience. Okay? So just don't leave it at the level of your intellect. Feel with me. We must hold hands, walk with me as we go through this inquiry. Okay? So let's start with the reading of the sloka.
The form is perceived and the I is its perceiver. It, I, is perceived and the mind is its perceiver. The mind with its modifications is perceived and the witness, the self, is verily the perceiver. But it, the self, the witness, is not perceived by any other.
Right. This is the first sloka. And see, and the strategy that was used in the composition of some of these shastras by different authors, the aim is to state the whole thing first sloka, first, and then the rest of the slokas is simply the unpacking. You see? So, and this author, whomever he may be amongst the controversy, pretty much follow that same strategy. Everything is loaded into the first sloka. So we only need the first sloka. We don't even need the other 39. They're just an elaboration. If you understand this, you have understood most of the rest of the other slokas. Some of those slokas, in fact, that follows this first verse, you'll find them even in the Upanishads. That's why I say that even the people who wrote Upanishads borrow from this or this borrow from them. I don't know, I don't give a damn, okay? All I know, it has utility, fair enough? All right, so the sutra says that here the I is the knower of objects. More specifically, the I is the knower of forms and colors. Rupa. Rupa. Rupa, however you wish to say it. This is Rupa. The I knows Rupa. Correct?
Yeah.
Are you with me? Your eyes knows forms, right? So you're seeing this pen, right? The pen is the what?
No.
Is it the Drsya or the Drsya?
Drsya.
It's the Drsya, right? And the I is the knower, right? Is the I and the pen the same?
No.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. This is too fast. Because on every cooler tape I've heard for the last 10 years, this never dawned on you, right? Now keep in mind what is said about the senses of sight, of seeing. It's also true of hearing, tasting, touching, etc. So the I and the sloka is just used to represent the entire sensory system of perception. See, all of the janendriyas and as well as the kamanendriyas are included in this thing. Are you with me? So it's just all veered into this. So rather than going through an example of each of the senses, clearly you can see what you hear, right? You hear my voice. You're not my voice. Clear?
Yeah.
You're sitting on chairs. You can feel the chair. But you know damn well you're not the chair, don't you?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, some people look skeptical about this. You see? So check right now, take a minute, check through all your systems. I ain't gonna be wasting my time, man. We got enough caskets to get rid of some of you. Check now through your senses. Those of you who have been doing kula and retreating, you know how to concentrate on the senses and to locate the object of that sense. So take a moment, just, and you be able to do this real quickly, you see? And just move your attention through your 5 senses. I isolate out any object, it does not matter to me, you see? And notice that whatever you are hearing is not you. And whatever you are feeling over the territory of your skin is not you. What you tasted, what you just got through eating, that sandwich was not you. I know you find this hard to believe. Because you've been told you are what you eat. Well, that's a lower teaching. You never what you eat. In terms of the tongue is not the food that it eats. You're not that which you taste, touch, hear, feel, or see. Got it?
Yeah.
Contemplate this deeply. Feel the truth of that to the point of radical conviction. You have to be clear about this. You see? With no doubt. And actually, it's very hard to doubt this. because this is in your immediate experience. You don't have to read no sutra, no sloka, no nothing. Are you with me? All of the sutras, all of the slokas have come into being through this process of noticing. That's all these rishis, sages, saints did. They noticed their own experience.
Master,
Yes, brother.
when you say the eye is not what it sees, you're specifically speaking at this level of the physical eye is not what it's seeing. You're not talking about, or are you referring to the self?
Well, I'm just saying that these are different kinds of noise. Remember, the sloka is going to take us a little deeper because you're going to get these things interchanged. In the next step of our observation, you will find that the eye becomes the Drshti, object of something else. You see? But we just want to make sure we got the basic one here, right? And again, this is a real basic model. It is offered as a direct path to self-realization, as opposed to the progressive path. Patanjali Yoga Sutra, that's a progressive path. Yama, niyama, you see? Asana, pranayama, it's a progressive path. You see? Karma Yoga is a progressive path. You see? Bhakti Yoga is a little bit more direct. You see? And this is like that. This is a direct path. Jhana. Jhana is supposed to be the direct path. You see? In any case, this perhaps is not all that it is touted to be historically, but I think you will find it a great aid. Especially those of you who are having a hard time discarding the cultures one by one, because that takes real subtlety of intellect. And most of you are after just that guy. This is easier because you can clearly see. You can see the chair. You can see the chair is not me. You don't have to have no 220 IQ. You follow what I'm saying? It's simple, straightforward, and it gets the job done. Everybody all right? Most important thing to take away from this phase of our inquiry into the distinction between Drik and Drsya is that the knower and the known are never the same. And you may prove this through to yourself by simply examining your own sensory system of perception in any moment. No special place is required for that. Next. Now, the sloka says, okay, just as the eye is the knower of the objects, the eye, or i.e. the sensory systems of perception, are perceived by the mind. Notice this. And just like the chair cannot see my eyes, but I can see it. Right? So the known cannot know the knower. Consider this. Already you're doing that.
So the knower can't know the knower.
The
knower can't know the knower.
The known does not know the knower.
Who's the knower?
Well, that's what we're getting to.
Clarity.
In this case here, the eye is the what?
No, the object.
Right, the Drsya, the known, right? And the mind, of course, here now is the Drik, right? You see how these positions are shifted here? Now notice that, feel that. You see? Here's one thing that you'll find about the Drsya. Drsya is always changing. See, our eyes remain the same. It's just seeing all kinds of things changing in front of it, but it itself does not change. Are you with me? Yeah. Notice that, feel that, see that, understand that. It sees forms, objects that are constantly changing, right? Taking different shapes, colors, etc. But it is not changing. In the same way, the mind perceives what is experienced through the senses, right? Which is always changing.
Yeah.
But the mind is not changing. Are you with me? Are you with me? Feel it, feel it, feel it. Feel for it. You see? The mind is the knower that I'm seeing something. The mind is the knower that I'm hearing something. The mind is the knower when I touch something, taste something. The mind knows that. The eyes don't know what the ears are hearing. The nose don't know what is being felt with the hand. Are you with me? The mind knows all of them. And they're constantly changing because you're constantly seeing something different, smelling something different, tasting something different. But the mind, even notice the eyesight when it gets bad, because it changes too. Right? Not the seeing, but the organ through which seeing occurs, the gross physical eye. Here I'm talking about the kamendriya, the organ of perception now, the gross organ of perception in the body. The mind notices when that organ is going bad. Are you with me? The mind knows what you're seeing in a dream. The mind knows that. Is that all right? Come on now, don't play with me here. I'm tired. Yes, beloved. The brain is the organ of the mind, if you want to use that language. You see? But, this yours?
That's mine.
Okay.
Back.
No, it's fine. I just didn't want to step on it and break it. Now that I know it's yours, I'm sure that you paid attention. The mind-brain distinction is a separate conversation. You know what I mean? I can speak much to that, but it'll kind of go off on a tangent. I'm presuming that everybody here has done enough swadhyaya to understand that from the point of view of saints and sages, mind, brain are different phenomena. Brain is gross. So like the eye. The eye, the gross physical eye, is not the source of sight. Because you see in a dream without the gross physical eye. It's a bad example, but you're getting the point? Okay. So, for the sake of time, I'm going to try to stay kind of close to this here. Maybe we'll save a little time, then we can go off on tangents, okay? But it's so important that you begin to appreciate how the mind becomes the knower of the sensory systems of perception across the spectrum. Notice this, feel this, feel this, feel this. You're hearing my voice, right? Who knows that you're hearing? It knows what is heard with the ears. It knows what is seen with the eye. It knows what is smelled with the nose, taste with the tongue, felt with the body, skin, hand. It knows. And they become the object. So the eyes and the senses become the object. Now stay with me. Stay with me. Just one more step. The mind itself is known by something that is not mine. There's a witness of the mind. We call it saksin in Sanskrit. There's something that knows the modifications in your mind, knows your emotions. It's something that knows when you're angry. That's in the mind. It knows when you're happy. It knows when you're unhappy. But it is not the mind, it's the perceiver of the mind. Notice this. Because the contents of your mind is constantly changing. What is it that knows that? It's an interesting story that comes out of the tradition about Jonathan. You're all familiar with King Jonathan. And the story is that, this is a different variation, you know, all these scriptures got tons of stories that go with them to help us to get a better sense of what they're saying in the kind of language that they use. But the story is that Jonathan is awakened one morning by his chief minister. And he's told, His Majesty, the kingdom is under attack. And we must gather up all our forces, all our generals, all our young men in the kingdom to try to preserve the kingdom. And he was telling Jonathan, and it's going to be hard to do because they are outnumbering us 10 to 1. You see? But Jonathan got about the bed and, you know, did what kings do, got everybody together, went out, you know what I mean? And his army was slaughtered, almost down to the last man. And the new king rode in triumphantly, right? And they had, you know, the other had Jonathan bound on his knee, which they do to comfort kings. Right? But the new king said, Jonathan, I'm not going to kill you because, after all, you are a king. But you must leave this kingdom. This is mine. So Jonathan goes out in exile, and he's wandering through the forest, going God knows where. You see? Tired, depressed, broken-hearted, the loss of his kingdom, now the hardships. You see? All the robes are gone. All the servants are gone. Nobody to cook food, do anything. Just out there in the forest, struggling, all on his own. Days go by. The weather, the terrain is tearing him down. What few clothes he had now are ragged and torn and stinking. He's hungry, but he has nothing to eat. You know, really in bad shape. You see? Sort of like Farad when he was living in the same room. And so in this wandering, eventually he came across, I guess it was some kind of a mission. You know, some of these ashrams have missions, they have langar, you know, and they feed the poor and so forth. So it must have came across a place similar to that, some kind of ashram that having langar, lines of poor people, you know, lined up, coming for free langar, free food. So Jonathan gets in this line, you know what I mean? In the back, nobody recognizes him no more. He ain't a king. He's not a sitting king, so who gives a damn? He can't go and say, I'm Jonathan, move. Shit don't work. He's in the back, right? He in the back. Long line. So after hours, finally, the line snakes up, and finally gets up to the front of the line. And just as he get up there, the cook said, we're all out of food. Don't that make you mad? And he just was, this was the straw that just about broke his back. But the cook said, but look, there's a little broth left over here. And maybe I can get just a little cup of it. Good, so grab that pan. Jonathan grabbed it. And he scooped up, couldn't have been more than a couple ounces. And he poured it into the pan. And Jonathan said, well, I miss food, solid food, but even this little broth, something better than nothing. At least I won't die. Because he's starving by this time, you see. And so just as he was going to raise the plate, a crow swooped down.
Shit! Oh, man.
Right? Now, nothing. And in that despair, in that hunger, in his fatigue, he just stayed laying where he had fallen in that despair. And eventually the crowd went away. He just laid there. And he fell asleep. And then, again, he was awakened by his minister. And the minister he said, His Majesty, what's wrong? What's wrong? You were hollering, you were screaming. What's wrong? Are you having a nightmare? And Janaka said, wait a minute. Which of these experiences I'm having is real? Is this real or is that real? His mind became fixed now. Because just before he was having the experience of being a defeated king in abject poverty and desperation, laying on the ground in filth. And now he's having this experience of laying up in this magnificent palace with all this silk, you know what I mean? All these servants lying up, roses laid on the floor for him to stuff. He's trying to figure this out, because that felt real too. It felt as real as this feels. So, wait a minute now. This is problematic. Because I can't say that this experience of being waken up into this palace is more real than the experience I had of being waken up into this hell. I can't figure this out. Is this real or is that real? And he was just puzzled like this. And that's all that became his mantra. Is this real or is that real? Is this real or that real? He was walking around the palace. Is this real? He's going crazy, right? So his queen come out and said, his beloved, she said, what's wrong? What's wrong, honey? What's wrong? What's bothering you? And all the Janaka said, is this real? So she called all the people, all the ministers, all the doctors, and the same thing, 24 hours, that's all he said, is this real or is that real? Is this real or that real? And they said, man, we got to call in the experts, right? So he had a meeting of all of the so-called wise men and sages, right? And he had asked them, is this real or is that real? So they're giving him all kinds of great arguments from their point of view and out of their wisdom, right? Their so-called wisdom. They have read a lot of books and blah, blah, blah. And in spite of their best effort to break his dilemma and his confusion, Janaka kept saying, is this real or is that real? Then the Buddhists will talk to him and he'll listen. Is this real? Then a Vedantist will come. Is this real or is that real? You know, academic, you see. And Janaka was desperate. So he wanted everybody there. He said, is these all the wise people here? And he said, well, there's one other guy, king, but, you know, this is a kid. He's ugly as hell. He's bent in eight places. He walks tall. He walks like a woman. Bent in eight places. So we didn't invite him, you see. And Jonathan said, get him. 'Cause I got to know, is this real or is that real? I got to know that. See, you, in some sense, see, we all like Janaka. You got to figure that out too. Is this real or is that real? You're in the same dilemma. Finally, Astavaka was found and was told that the king requests his audience. You see? And of course, from here, some of you know the story. Astavaka showed up. They made it fun. They laughing at him. And Astavaka started laughing too. He'll crack them too. They said, wait a minute. We laughing at you, Astavaka. He said, I know. And I'm laughing at y'all laughing at me because you supposed to be wise men in here. And you see this, you think I'm this body. This just cracked me up. That shit is just hilarious. You know what I mean? For wise who still thinking you're a body. And so he approached the king, his majesty. How can I help you? And the king says, is this real or is that real? And Asaraka now, because Asaraka is a realizer, he began to tell the king, you know, king, you see, you last time you was in the forest there, remember, and they knocked that thing out of your hand and fell to the ground and how, you see, and the king said, well, how you know this? You see? And then he said, and you know, all of the fatigue and the cuts in your feet and the tiredness in your body, did you experience that? Jonathan said, yes. You see? And he says, and now you're standing here, right, in your palace surrounded by all these people, powerful. You see? You experiencing this, right? Jonathan said, yes. He says, King, the answer to your question, is this real or is that real? The answer is neither real. Jonathan said, oh, shit! Let me touch them feet. And he said, because he said, in both experiences, who was there? Me. I was there. He said, you are real. Neither the other two were real. That tore my seat. Now, I bastardized the story, naturally, but you get the point. Another story comes to mind. And this is a story of a person who was just really, really at their end, wit's end, burdened with so much misery. Life for them had become just full of problems, suffering, disappointment, frustration, sadness. And it's killing them, you know what I mean? And he knew that if I didn't get some help, I'm going to have to kill myself. He was thinking like God here. Right? I got to get all this worry and anxiety and shit out of my head, goddamn, you know what I mean? Before I go crazy. You know, he knew he had to do something radical, right? So, being in that time and in that place that was ancient India, he understood that, well, when all else fails, you go to a sage. Everybody knew that. When all else fails, you go to an ashram, you go see a Brahmin, you see my point, they give you a mantra to repeat in order to get you the money that you feel you need, or get you the wife that you need, you see. That's what the mantras in the Vedas are. They're formulas, spells, like in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. By repeating, you can manipulate forces, get shit. You know what I mean? And most people, when they got in trouble, they go there, right? But even the Brahmins at the temple said, man, we can't help you, you know what I mean? You see, you're suffering from something that we don't have any way of curing, you know? You're going to have to go to the Himalayas, you know? We're just Brahmins. We preach, we train, you know? We ain't enlightened, we just trained in ritual. You need to go see a sage. I've been to seminary, you know, and I know how to quote shit, but hey, you know, you need a real sage. So the man, having not much choice, did exactly that. He went to the Himalayas, and you know, there's a belief that the higher up in the Himalayas is the sage, the more wise that sage is. So he wanted to make sure that he go to the wisest sage in the mountain. And so he goes up 5,000 feet. You know, that's a long haul up there, and he's tired. You see, and he goes another 5,000. Almost killed this damn self. And then finally goes up to the very topmost rim of Himalayas. 15,000 feet. He can hardly breathe now because the air is so rare. You know. But there he found the sage. And he fell at the sage's feet. Mahatma Ji, I've come this far to seek your help and your blessings. And he began to tell him his condition. I'm miserable, you know, nothing wrong. Wife left me, husband left me, job's gone, blah, 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 health gone, blah, blah, nobody. You know, some of the same stuff we complain about, you see? And the sage then toward him and asked me, said, you experiencing all of that? He said, hell yeah, I'm experiencing all of that. Have you been listening? He said, oh, well, if you're experiencing that, that can't be you because you're the experiencer of what you are experiencing. What you're experiencing is in your mind. He said, misery, suffering, happiness, unhappiness, joy, sorrow, all of these are modifications of your mind state. You are that which is aware of the contents in your mind, but not the mind. Eureka! Occurred. A satori. And all of that misery dropped away. The identification with his mind and his contents was broken, snapped. Because he could experience. It's clear. It's within his own experience. This is not something he has to believe in. You see? Clearly, there is something in me that is witnessing the contents and the modification of my mind. And I am not that. And all of that dropped. And then he said, oh my God, beloved, thank you so much. Now, I got so much peace of mind. And the sage said, you have no peace of mind. You're the witness of peace in the mind, but not peace itself. You understand?
Yeah.
Happiness, unhappiness, these are modifications and contents of the mind. You are not the mind. You are that which is the witness of mind. Tat, Twan, I see. The sadhana of inquiry can go along these lines, but what you're really noticing, you see, feeling it, walk with it, hold hands with it, feel it. You see, just don't think, feel it in yourself. Feel the transition, feel the shifts from Drshti to Drsya in your own experience. You see? You are beyond both happiness and unhappiness. You're beyond that. You see? This is what has to be understood. Now I'm going to push you a little bit more. You see? Y'all all right?
Yeah.
No, you're not. You're aware of being all right. You're that which is witness of being all right. Little pop quiz. Now, switch horses here for a moment. All right. Any questions so far before I move a little bit more? And yes, the
When you were doing the mechanics of experience, you said there was a knower, a knowing, and a knowing. The knowing is
the bridge that connects the knower and the
the
known.
witness.
Knowing.
Is that the witness?
No. Bridge. That's Put you in the bottom of food. Keep this up. If you ask me one more question, no, let me just back up real. Yeah. You see, the mind, let me put it to you like this. The Antankara. The Antankara, the inner organ. That's what we mean by the mind. But the mind, unlike in the West, is conceived of as having four fundamental and distinct functions, right? Who can tell me what they are? The buddhi, the buddhi,
The manas.
manas, what else? Chitta, what else?
Whatever the word is.
That's ego, right? The I sense, right? Right. Now remember, all of these, when we said something that is witnessing the mind, we mean witnessing all of it. All of the mind function. Notice this. The sense of I, the experiencer, the doer, that's being witnessed. When you say, I am doing this, or I am doing that, or I feel this, or I don't feel that, that I is being witnessed. You're the witnesser of the I. Don't be rolling your eyes. I'll slap you, show it.
Back to you. In the ABD, you said that we could not be the experiencer. That's what's confusing.
This is the experiencer. I am happy. I am sad. I am hungry. I am tired.
Okay. So I can just take this one out.
Calvin pages out.
It says that the experiencer is the consciousness itself. That's not right.
In a sense, it is true because everything is nothing but a modification of consciousness. You just have to understand where the argument is coming from.
Okay, all right. But I'm
Okay.
gonna take that out because that's
Leave it alone.
right.
It's all right.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? But this
Is the ego.
this I,
Ego. Yeah, this-
ego I,
Yeah.
and the problem is that in these traditions, like in in the Samkhya tradition, which predates Vedanta and so forth and so on, this is where we find this word first appearing, aham kara. It meant the purush, you see, not the ego. But later writers, they start using the same word for different things, right? So this ahankara is a reflection of the pure ahankara. If you can understand that, it's a reflection
Of pure consciousness.
of the real I.
Right.
Let me try this again, and I appreciate it because this is subtle. This is deep. This requires much reflection, much swadhyaya. You see, and that's why I said, as Kulu participants, you know, you gotta bump it up. You gotta bump it up. You see, because it has been dumbed down as far as it can be dumbed down. It can't get dumbed down no lower. You got to grow now. Let me put it to you in a different way, beloved. And this is a question for all of you, but we will practice through Adasaji. Adasaji will represent all of us. Pay attention. Adasaji. Look at me. Where am I?
Where are you?
Yeah, where am I?
Standing right there.
Am I really standing right here?
No.
Where am I?
Where are you?
That's the question.
Time and space?
Hmm?
I don't know where you are.
You don't know where I'm at?
You're standing right there.
I'm standing right
Right
here.
here.
Here meaning I'm standing in the basement, right?
Right.
Of A.A. Rayner West Side Funeral Facility, right? In Chicago, Illinois,
Oh.
right? On the west side, right?
Uh-huh.
In the United States of America, and blah,
Just
blah, blah.
set on Earth.
Oh, the date, right?
Right.
Right. And on this planet Earth, right? Now, where is this Earth at?
Floating around in the universe.
And where is the universe at?
In my mind.
Space. You're going to say all this floating in space, but where is space? Can you point to space? Can you see, touch, taste, smell, or feel? Where is space then?
In my mind. Yeah.
Right. Space is a mental concept. Everything is in your mind. Now, let me ask you another question. You get to pick somebody. Because you did. Pick anyone you've been after. Who wants that whole damn table over there? Ragabaki. Okay. The baton has been passed to you. Are you aware?
Yes.
How do you know it?
Because of consciousness.
No, the same thing. It's a tautology. Are you aware? Are you conscious?
Yes.
And if so, how do you know that?
Well, I know that I'm perceiving, from my mind. So I know that perceptions are entering my mind.
Because you're aware, you can know that cup, but you have to look at the cup to know it. Because you're aware and conscious, you can know I'm standing here, but you have to turn your attention and look and see here, right?
Yes.
What do you have to do to know that you are conscious and aware? Can you know it through any perception?
No, because it just is.
Yeah, so I like that. That's a close enough. I won't punish you for it. It knows itself. It is self-luminous. It is self-luminous, self-illuminating. Awareness knows that it is aware. Good? That's on my seat. So that's why it says in the sloka, the last line in the sloka, the witness, right, itself cannot be perceived by anything or anyone. Walk with me, walk with me, walk with me, walk with me, feel with me on this.
It's the Atman.
That's just a word, that's all right. It's beyond Nam and Rupa. It is nameless, no names. But Atman is just a word we use to yes. Don't raise your hand up. Don't be scared.
So awareness is the only thing, whatever you want to call it, that's aware of itself.
Right. The I is not aware of itself.
Correct.
The mind is aware of it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
The object is not aware of itself. The I is aware of it.
Right.
In Buddhism, we call it eye consciousness, nose consciousness, ear consciousness, tongue consciousness, mind consciousness. That's the kind of language, right? Because these are just modifications of consciousness, but consciousness is the cognitive principle threading through them all. That's how you know anything, even with your ears and your eyes.
Master,
Yes, brother.
the awareness that we're talking about as far as the different levels of consciousness is the awareness that's mixed up in the buddhi.
Right, just reflect.
It's just reflected consciousness, and that's all that we can be aware of at this point.
Actually,
Not even be aware of it.
you can be identified with that, and that's the problem. But the truth of the matter is that that awareness that we are is always the case. You see? It's always the case. Because you know that you are aware. Without discarding any kosher, you know that you are aware.
Even right now.
Even right now, it's eternal, always the case. Now that's the ontological truth. You may not be experiencing yourself at that level, but you are that. You follow me?
Because
Whether you can feel it, whether you can't feel it, whether you can comprehend it, it don't change the reality of being only this aware.
because the buddhi hasn't been cleansed.
The Buddha is cleansed, yes, yes. Which will take us into a little discussion on the culture, but you all are sophisticated enough to do that on your perfect day of retreat, right? Where you all can really begin to sit and see how the knowing principle, or tattva, the cognitive tattva, the principle of knowing, it just reflected down through these cultures. But the cultures are not the source or the origin of that. At all. And you begin to see this. Now that we begin to appreciate this, we could stay here literally all night, but y'all scared of caskets and dogs.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Not only is the witness of all that is being reported and occurring through the five senses, as in the state of mind and so forth and so on, it is also the witness of our stars. You see, and you're able to appreciate more of this metaphor of it being a thread running through. That's what a sutra is. It's a thread on which all of these beads, if you will, of profound knowledge. It's what holds everything together, this thread. You see, take the thread out of there and all your things fall. Similarly, consciousness is a thread. All of these things are just different parts of the necklace, but the thing that holds them all together is consciousness itself. So, and we're moving just a little bit out of the Drsya Viveka into just a little bit of the Mandukya Upanishad. Some of you have already read that, so I'm not going to go into that. If you haven't read it, okay, get busy. It's on you. You see, put in some effort. Nevertheless, in that Mandukya Upanishad, it talks principally about the three states of vastas that are being experienced by all of us. Right? And everybody know them, right? Deep sleep. Now, this is oftentimes made a little easier to understand if you understand that you can have a how do they say it? A necklace, a bracelet, and a ring. You can have a gold necklace, a gold bracelet, and a gold ring, but what is in common, what they really are, they all are gold. Right? Right? This gold is just taking a different form in these three different things. But the reality is what? Gold. They're gold, right? Appearing as a necklace, appearing as a bracelet, appearing as a ring. but it's really gold. Gold here is the substratum, right?
Yes.
Okay? Is that understood?
Yes.
Clear the bill. Hmm? Well, in the same way, the witnessing stuff is called Turiya, the fourth state, but not in a sequence. Are you with me? It is called the fourth state because it is the consciousness that shines and makes these experiences possible in the first place. Okay? That's the Turiya, that's the witnessing. Hmm? So it's the substratum in some sense of these three. Hmm? But itself is not a fourth. It is a fourth though. That's a fifth. I mean, it's a fourth just in the sequence that it's implied, spiritually implied. So it's a kind of provisional one, and that's samadhi. But it comes and goes.
What can that mean?
It means that's the one that is married to Drsya. Get the video from Bilal. I'm messing with you. Samadhi. That's a state too. Right? And there are different kinds of different levels and different types of samadhi, etc., etc. Right? There's the samadhi that is beyond samadhi. Mahasamadhi. You see my point? Very often that is called death, the Mahasamadhi. You talk about the Mahasamadhi of this saint, the Mahasamadhi of that person is beyond the lower samadhis. You see? Deha-mukti versus jiva-mukti, etc., etc.
Master, what is that? Spell the word of the
Avasta.
Spell it.
A-V-A-S. You spelled it.
Is it C-A-S? A-B-A-S?
Go ahead, write it for us.
T-what?
Avasta.
T-H-A.
You making fun of my charming school education. Now, remember Adasaji question, space, right? So what you begin to see now about this witnessing consciousness, that looking at all these three states, or four states if you want to include samadhi, it appears that they are outside, but the reality, they're in the same place as everything else. They're in consciousness itself. Nothing exists outside of consciousness. Now this realization here is what we mean when we say Turiyatita. Right? It destroys the experience of individuation. That's the last fault. Because the question becomes, all right, so there is this witnessing level of my being that is witnessing all of these things. And the question becomes, well, is everybody a separate witnesser? That's a question that comes into mind. You see. Are there infinite individual witnesses? Or individual souls, to put it in archaic language? Leibniz had a theory, Leibniz the mathematician, the co-originator of the calculus. Him and Newton both developed calculus simultaneously. I think probably Leibniz beat Newton to it, but Newton used it first. In any case, he had a concept called monads. husband talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
More than these individual units of consciousness, spirits, or soul. And that becomes the question. You see? Are all of you, each one of you, a separate, individuated witness? Is the witness in Bilal different from the witness in Imi, and her is different from the witness in Saranja and so forth and around the room?
No.
How you know?
I mean, I heard it.
All right, well, there you go.
Heard it.
There you go. You talk more now. You talk like Ananda, like Buddha disciple said, thus have I heard. Now, I don't know. But this is what I heard the Tathagata say. You see? Now I know declare the statement, I know. All right, I'm messing with you. And the next level, and this may be very difficult to grasp, is the realization that there's only one witness. There's only one consciousness threading through norms and rupa. There's only one substratum. There's not many substratums. There's only one. And everything and everyone is a modification of the one. The one has become the many. You see? And it is the ultimate knower of all knowers. And in the Upachana tradition, that is what is called Aham Brahmasi. You all know how to do it. Aham Brahmasi. That's a different statement than Tatvamasi. Aham Brahmasi. You see? It is the realization that the jiva, in essence, is the same as Atman or Brahman, in essence. No difference. Qualitative, quantitative, maybe some, but there's in essence no difference. Aham Brahmasi. And that's Eka, that's one. The one and only one, without a second. Hard to conceive of this, granted, but I'm simply making, or reproducing as best I can, the map. You see? The African sages, Kaushal, if they were speaking using the Sanskrit, they would say, Aham Rasi. I'm like the sun. Illuminate, give light. You see. No sun, no existence. That's the symbolism, you see. Aham Rasi, and those words in your mantras are your attributes. Your five functions. Creation, substance, sustaining, destroying, grace, etc., etc. Father. Aham Brahmasi. Asa. I and my Father are one. This is the language, you see, that represents the Turiyatita level of realization. You see. Now, granted, I haven't served you fully here, maybe not even well, but I certainly wanted to take this opportunity since so many of you have become committed to your spiritual practices to the degree that you're willing to take out time from your regular life, go on retreats, spend a day, so forth and so on. Certainly wanted to offer you some additional things to take with you on that day. That hopefully will help you make that breakthrough. And to do that, it's got to be done in the way where you are feeling as you are thinking your way through this. You got to feel this thing. You see, you just can't calculate it like math. You see, you got to feel it in yourself. Something to.
So the mind can't know the witness.
Right. The mind cannot know that for which it is an object, just like the object cannot know the eye. And the eye cannot know the mind, and the mind cannot know the Sasi, the witness. And the individual witness cannot know the one and only one, the Tuliyatita. This is it. But here's what you do. Now, what you're doing as an ego, you're trying to transcend the ego so your ego can still somehow become enlightened. Basically. You want your alternate ego to become enlightened, not your regular, everyday ego. You understand what I'm saying? Right? And you're looking for enlightenment out here in your experience as if it's an event. Are you with me? Or that it's going to be something that happens in your mind. Enlightenment is not going to be anything that happens in your mind, because it's where?
It's consciousness. It's beyond the mind.
It's beyond the mind.
Beyond the mind.
Beyond the mind is not mindlessness. You see my point? Right. So you're not going to find it in any kind of experience. You're trying to have the experience of becoming enlightened. That's your problem.
Yeah.
This is profound. This is profound. This is profound. Sit with this. Sit with this. Your problem is you trying to have the experience of being enlightened. But where are you trying to have it at?
In your mind.
You bastard are trying to have it in the body. Y'all trying to have it in the neighborhood. While at work. You understand? In the ABD it says your problem is that you're still trying to what? Steal the mind, steal the thoughts. That's the language that they use to point to. You still trying to have an experience with the mind of being enlightened. Ponder this. There's no experience in the mind that you're going to have that is anything like enlightenment. You see? Ponder this. Ponder this. Identification with the mind surely must be broken. No doubt about that. And for that, we might have to use the buddhi. No doubt about that. So I don't want to be misunderstood, you see. The mind is like what do you call them guys? Pole walker. Where they take this pole and they run and they jam it in the floor and it bends and they go over and around. The intellect is like that. The mind is sort of like that. It is a tool to be used much like that to go beyond it. So, are you with me? Then come to the G.
You answered it.
Took care of it? Okay. Come to the G.
Master, you once stated that the truth is revealed. It's not, you're not going to think it up, it's revealed, but it's revealed in the same, to the same degree that the ego is diminished.
Well, by that I meant I was speaking from the point of view of our relationship with the sages and seers and rishis who are the source of truth, you know, and they revealed that truth to us. But it is still on us to use that. Their revelation of the truth to us does not transform you. If it did, we'd all be transformed. Because we've all been told a million times. You see, that's what I see. You're not the body, you're not the mind, you're not the modifications and functions of either, right? Over and over. But that hasn't snapped your misidentification, you see. But they have given us the great revelation, right? Now we can use that, understand that, manana that, etc., and use it, you see. But simply by virtue of the truth being revealed, you see, does not transform you. The other point, though, G, is that the revelation of the truth is a great gift, you see, that is given to us. It is a kind of grace, you see. And if we make right use of it, it paves the way. It sets the whole process in motion. And that's why we have so much respect for, gratitude towards, and honor the realizers. Because if they had not made the great revelation that enabled me to work on myself, then you would have remained, you see my point? Dead. Trapped in a meaningless existence. You see? How can you have happiness when your whole life is meaningless? Ponder that. Meaningfulness is necessary condition for happiness to arise. But if your whole life is just meaningless, you see. And think about it. At the time of your death, our deaths, what can we say? All we did was chase one desire after another desire, and then you die. That's about it. It's not a very meaningful life. All you did, all you are doing with your life is fulfilling and chasing one desire after another. And there is no end to the desires. Before you can hardly finish killing yourself to fulfill one desire, 10 more have been. And then you drop dead. It's not a meaningful life. Is it?
No.
What is? What is?
That's what you have to find out. That's a good question. See, those are the questions. Those are the ultimate kinds of questions. Eventually, every intelligent, if you are intelligent, those questions just don't come out. What is this? Because this is nonsense here. What I'm doing, I'm just going to take one desire, another desire, and another desire. When I fulfill them, they do not last, I do not get what I want, blah, 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 blah. What is that? What is there a higher purpose, higher goal in life? And the answer depends on who you ask. If you ask John Doe America, said the purpose and meaning of your life is to buy this shit I'm trying to tell you. Get you some jewelry, get you a couple of Mercedes, get you some big houses, you know, get this money, get this material thing. Their answer would be the purpose of your life is to become a consumer, to become a materialist. You see? Right? And think about it, beloved. Well, one of the things that we're trying to do with our life, and some mystics say, well, the purpose of life is to be happy. Right? But then you notice there are certain kinds of archetypes or categories or classes or means and strategies that most of us adopt for the sake of trying to be happy. Right? And in ancient culture, you know, they talked about that too. Inconsistent with our study of Eastern philosophy and so forth and so on, these have been couched in a schema of 4 things. And I know I've talked about this to some, but for the benefit of some of you who might not have come across this argument yet, I offer it to you for your consideration. It's certainly not the only schema. It's just the Hindu schema. That's just one schema. There's many schemas. Okay? Karma. Not karma. Karma. What is the meaning of karma? Lust. Right? Pleasure. Right? Sensual pleasure. You see all kinds of pleasure. Mental pleasure. You see, they can be gross, and they can be as refined as a concert with Bach or Mozart or Mahler. It could be very gross, and it could be very fine, but they both are karma. They have the same purpose, the gratification of self at the level of body, emotions, mind. By mind I mean mental, intellectual, so forth and so on. Just pleasure.
Would that be the subtle?
Hmm?
Would that be the subtle?
The subtle? Yeah, you could put it like that. Gross, subtle, causal. But in practical terms, because when we do something, we don't say, oh, I'm doing causal shit now. You know what I'm saying? We don't usually make those distinctions, although it's possible. But we really know that I'm trying to get my mental pleasure on. So I read a book because I get mental pleasure out of reading. I have a conversation on philosophy because I enjoy talking about philosophy. I don't like doing none of that shit, but I love a good conversation. It's like gourmet food, you know? You see the gourmet person? I mean, they're so meticulous about food. The food, it has to be presented the right way. You know what I mean? We teach that over at CSW. I mean, presentation, this shit got to be right. You just can't taste good, it got to look. I mean, so you have all of that kind of, you know, thing going on, meticulous. So the point I'm making is that one of the strategies by which we resort to for the sake of being happy, and remember happiness with a capital H. And this again, you know what this is, right? This is a state of what?
Ego.
Mind!
Okay. What's the difference in that and ego?
Okay, ask your mama. Swadhyaya, okay? But in any case, this karma is a major strategy that we resort to. Our principal strategy by which we attempt to fulfill ourselves, you see, is karma, gross, or subtle. Low down, raunchy, very refined. There's another one. Is that somebody? Arthar is another means by which we resort to for the sake of being happy. And Atra has a lot to do with wealth, power, that kind of thing. Its fundamental goal, though, is to create for itself the experience of safety, protection. And the more money I got, the more I can better protect myself. That's how the logic goes, right? So give me $1 billion, I won't even die. I'll never get sick. I'll never be, you understand? Wealth, power. That power thing can turn you into Adolf Hitler. You see, a control freak. All kinds of things can happen. That's Atar. You see. Now, I'm obviously leaving out a lot of the forms that these two can take, but that's your work, okay? That's your Swadhyaya, all right? And remember, I can't do Swadhyaya for you. You're going to have to do that. These constitute pretty much the majority of us. So we go. You see? Money, food, sex, bodily comfort. Money, food, sex, bodily comfort. Money, food, sex, bodily comfort. Entertainment. You see? Xbox, games, football, sports, blah, 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 blah. You see? Fun is your goal here. Come, you want to have fun. Here you run into the vicissitudes of life. How can I want to give me a lot of money, give me a lot of power? I had me some son of a bitch to get cancer for me. You know what I mean? I let my kidney go. I buy me a damn kidney from one of these beggars over here. You know what I mean? I could order a homeless person, kill his ass, and you know what I mean? Get nobody even would know the difference. You follow me? I got money. You understand? And like anything else, you chase it until you drop dead. That's all you do with your life. You see. And here we put drugs, alcohol, all other kinds of addiction, food addiction, all of that goes under here. Karma. You try to eat some, smoke some, drink some to make yourself happy. Snort something to make yourself happy. That's about it. Until you die, the whole deal, some shit like that. You know what I mean? That's how it goes. What is characteristic of both of these strategies in our pursuit of happiness is that they are engaged in with no restraint or consideration for the welfare and the well-being of other human beings. Very often your own family members. Therefore, there is a third category and type of person. And we call that dharma. And again, we're using dharma in a different sense here, right? As a kind of moral and ethical relationship to these two. These two here now are restrained, brought under the control of moral and ethical living. You see? There's some restraint. Here, the is unrestrained. It's just straight ahead until they run out of energy and breath and fall dead. Here is just a straight ahead pursuit until they run out of energy and drop dead. Dharma, the person that resorts to Dhamma for the sake of being happy, restrains themselves in these two categories. You follow what I'm saying? That restraining of these two categories from the Nyama, the Ma'at, the moral and ethical foundation. Right? It's just some shit they're not going to do to make money. You follow what I'm saying? Right?
That's the platform.
Yeah. That's that standing on the ground. They're just not going to do that. They got limits. They got morals. They got principles. They're ethical. You see? They take others into consideration, especially others that are in intimate relationship with them, how their behavior will affect the ones that are in relationship with them. They don't live in a coma. You see? And I have a group out in Bolingbrook who talk to the kids about karma. You see, they're not aware of the consequences of my action. They're in a coma, particularly the consequences of the action on other people that are connected to them. These people that are in this coma have no dharma. And every decision that they make is strictly in the interest of the fulfillment of their karma, their attara, with no regards. We're going to do this. I don't care how this shit affect y'all. I don't care if you like it. You know what I mean? We do this with our kids, right? Sure. We do it with our spouses. This is what I decided. And we're going to invest our life savings into this business, of which I know nothing about. You better go along with it. And we manipulate. If you love me, you'll let me do this so that I can be happy. Sicily. Very simple. No dhamma to regulate any of that activity whatsoever. Right? Now, there is a fourth means and strategy that you will observe some resort to for the sake of being happy. And that is moksha, the spiritual life. Because now they have understood, and that's part of the great revelation. The great revelation said that the happiness you seek can only be had once you realize yourself. Not become the self. You're already that. It's the recognition of yourself. The moment there is the recognition that you are only pure consciousness itself, there is happiness. There is moksha. Because what? And that recognition is the breaking of the misidentification with the kosas, right? So this, when this ends, you don't end. There goes half of your problem. Most of your problem is rooted in the inevitable demise of this thing. And how happy are you, made then, when you realize when this drops, nothing happens to you. When breath ends, nothing happens to you. When the mind is gone, nothing happens to me. It's sort of like in deep sleep. Are you scared to go to sleep tonight? How many of y'all scared to go to sleep? I know 4 or 5 of y'all. Y'all be having some nightmare dreams. And the reason you have a nightmare dream is because your waking state life is a nightmare. So shit, you know. But you're not afraid.
Pastor, we're indoctrinated that family and children are the path to happiness, you know, which, you know, obviously is a huge lie. So where does that fit in?
That can be akra, because what we do, we have relationships. We usually try to make our happiness out of relationships and possessions. Those are the two fundamental things we try to put together. Relationship and possession. And relationships, because there are certain kinds of pleasures you can only get from another human being. Right? Right? Do I need to tell you what that is? And from children. You see, especially from children, because, you see, we have children because we need children. The children didn't need us. We needed the children. Why? Because you're trying to make your life more meaningful. And see, sometimes we get it twisted, you know what I mean? And we start getting up in these children's faces and doing all that huff, what I did for you. No! This kid kept you from falling into bone-crushing depression. That's what this kid did for you. Are you with me? Yeah. This kid growed your ass up. Gave you the maturity you would have never had. Get out of your kid's face. But all But you understand how they go. Those are relationships where we are seeking a kind of satisfaction and pleasurization that you can't get from your possessions. Now, there are some people who are so twisted and so locked into the one side of this, they start confusing their possession with their relation. Now their car become their kids. The dog become your son. The television become your best friend. Your iPad. You're going to be with your iPad. You don't curl up with your iPad. See what I'm saying? They all confused, mixed up. Are you with me? So some of that is just natural, it's inherent. Because once there is the identification with the gross physical body, then automatically you will have relationships with other human beings. It's inherent. Somebody's going to be your mother, the father of this body, probably siblings, friends, other people, and possessions. Because you're going to need to get shit for the body to stay intact. So you have possession automatically. And they become sometimes the principal territory in which you seek out your pursuit of happiness in the form of, come on. Yes, but
In this is there a evolution, like when you get to the Dharma, place where you are seeking knowledge or like that? Does that lead to you moving into the moksha level?
I see your point. Ordinarily, what can happen, see, even the person who's got Dharma, the moral and ethical person, they ain't any more happier than anybody else. Because even their happiness is restrained, but it's still transient. They still come and go. They're good, nice people, but they're still looking for happiness in the same location that their twins are looking for it. You follow me? That's the only difference. You see? Less damage is done, maybe less bad comments through and all that, but that's not liberation. At this level, there's been the insight or the revelation that the happiness that you get from these pursuits is transient, it does not last, and it's not enough. It's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for big H. I'm tired. You begin to realize your utter near pathological dependency on all of the circumstances and conditions that makes up these three categories. You see? At some point, this begin to happen. You see? At some point, you get tired of being dependent on your husband to be happy. Now, you tired of that shit. You see my point?
What y'all talking about?
You see? You want your own. You want your own. Then vice versa.
Miss, can I ask you, so
Yes.
from a higher sense, you really actually can't enjoy anything as long as you identify with, you're actually tightening the bondage
Yes.
to that, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, you tighten it. Every time you do that, the bond gets stronger. It creates a momentum to repeat.
Okay.
That's what we call samskara. You see? Samskara. What happens, you see, you have a desire, right? And then you act on that desire. That goes down into the chitta. Remember, right? And it comes back up. Then it goes again. And it comes back up. You see? Oh, I'll go on. And at some point, though, you get tired of this, but you have to hit rock bottom in the intellectual or spiritual sense. You have to hit rock bottom. You can't philosophize yourself to rock bottom. Please make a note. Rock bottoms arrived at through philosophizing and calculation. You're not going to back rock bottom. You got to hit rock bottom for real. You see my point? And then you realize I'm out. You see, that the feeling feels very much like the person that want to commit suicide. The difference between that depression that characterizes suicide, you know what I mean? The depression that leads to suicide is a kind of depression that is grounded in ignorance. You see, you depressed because in spite of your best effort, you just could not make it work. Shit. The same detachment from the side of most South is based on knowledge. See, depression is based on ignorant, mamukshava. For most South, it's based on knowledge. That's the difference, and the difference is vast. One is positive, the other is negative. You see? That's how that goes. That's how that goes. And so you come to this point now, by grace very often as well, where there is the insight, or the great revelation is made. You see? And he points it out. Because it's always been true. It's just you have not been looking in your experiences. You've been so busy running from one desire to the next desire, to the next desire, to the next desire. You have not even noticed how you live. You have not even noticed your own experience. You haven't noticed anything. Are you with me? Because you've been on the run. And the sages, they tell us that, hold up, look. And then if we have faith, we'll hold up and we'll look and we'll pause. And then you'll begin to notice, damn, ain't none of these desires resulted in the fulfillment that I've been seeking. You see? So your life is not fulfilled, it's just filled of the futile search for the fulfillment of desires. That's not a fulfilled life. We presume that the fulfillment of desires is equal to having a fulfilled life. That's not true. Go look at it yourself. Don't take the words of the mystic. You will not believe the mystics, usually, initially, until you examine. Go look and see. That's all you're doing. And spiritual materialism is not different from worldly materialism. It's just materialism of a spiritual nature. Now you're chasing spiritual experiences. Let me hear something. Let me see something inside. Let me have a religion. Let me get a city. You know what I mean? How come I can't read nobody's mind? I've been doing this shit for 6 months. Where my damn city? Right? So that's spiritual materialism. Are you with me? It's no different from the other one. It's the same shit. There it goes. So this is a little bit of my response. You know, a lot more can be said about that. But to give you some idea.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. So this is the game changer.
But you keep some desire about
Yes, in some sense, you know, again, you use desire like a pole vaulter used that pole. That's what Mamusha life is. It's collapsing all desires into that desire. That's the paradox. You see? Yeah, and see, that's bhakti. You see, and we were talking about it earlier in Satsang, we were talking about the bhakti sadhana of Narada. You see? And so, I mean, they talk about first anga, and bhakti yoga sadhana is the experience of awe. They tell a story about when the eagle was asked why it screams. If you know anything about eagles, you'll notice eagle screams. And they asked the eagle, why do you scream? And the eagle says, when I'm up there at 10,000 feet and I'm soaring and I'm looking down at this thing, all I can say is, oh! Oh! He's awestruck. First thing about they're awestruck. Are you with me? See, God, Israel, God strikes them. They are struck, not what I can get from Israel. And you use it like Israel. The first, just the thought of God, is the first anga about the yoga. And if you can't feel you can't be no bhakta. You can be a bullshit stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's awe. Do you understand?
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all understand.
Yeah.
You would have to have seen a sunset that was so beautiful, it just weakened you in your knees. Your knees get weak. You static. It's like being on drugs. You see? Or you have to have felt a breeze go across your face. that felt so good was better than sex. You follow what I'm saying? Water has to feel better to you than the most comfortable bed. You're experiencing God, and you're awed by that. Dumbfounded, awed. That's why Aristotle, the Greek philosophers, was beautiful in their description of God. They used all the typical things, you see, omnipotent, omnipresent, and so forth. But the one they emphasized the most, beautiful. It's beautiful. And bhakti yoga, sadhana, is the individual's capacity to respond to the beauty of God, even at the level of nature.
Even at the what?
Even at the level of nature. Because nature is a modification of the divine. Right? And it's ours. It's ours. You see? And if you look at the mechanics of love, you'll see this awe quality reflected even downline, even into the human relationships, you see. Now you see this woman, and you are struck, or you see this man, and you are, it awes you. Well, some of us divided you. It may not awe you, but I'm thinking for the normal people here. You understand what I'm saying? Think back. It's something that, you see. And in your eye, they're beautiful. May not be beautiful in anybody else's eye. That's not important. But you begin to have the Laila and Majnun experience. Majnun would act, what is it about this Laila, man, that's got you going crazy? You know, she's a Sudra, she's low class, she's ugly. And Majnun said, hold it, you know, he said, just, you need my eyes in order to see what I see in Laila. You see? And so in some sense, the bhakti got an eye, you see, that enables him or her to see this beauty. The non-bhakti don't have that eye. So for them, God is just a concept, a metaphysical entity. It's not alive, it's not real to them, naturally. Because you don't have that eye that's is required to see.
Does it come in stages in the sense that you work so hard on creating detachment?
Yes.
That, you know.
And now the golden stages, it can happen suddenly, like with a Paul turning into a Saul, right? A Metarepa turning into the Metarepa. Valmiki, the author of your Yoga Vasistas, Valmiki was a robber. Valmiki made his living killing people. He was a dacoit.
He uses a story in there.
Does he? Okay, you remember the story. He tells that story.
Yeah.
You see. And then he met Narada. You see. The Bhakta. Narada is the sage that wrote the Narada Bhakti Sutras. Well, Valmiki met this guy. His name wasn't even Valmiki at that time. It was something else I don't even remember. You all know the story probably better than me. You see. And this Valmiki was going to rob him and kill him. You see. And Narada was saying to Valmiki, he said, you know, I don't have anything. I just have this Veena. You know, I play my Veena and sing of love of God. That's all I got. I mean, what are you going to get out of that, you know? And he said, and besides, have you ever thought about it? All of the sin and all of the karma you're going to acquire because you're killing these people and robbing them? And Valmiki was saying that, well, you know, that's my duty. I'm doing dharma. My duty is to feed my wife and children. This is the only means that I can come up with for doing that. So for me, killing and robbing is dharma. You see how the logic works? And so conversation went on, argument was on. And Narada Maharaj said to him, he said, well, will your family take on some of this bad karma that you are creating, making your living this way? Have you asked? He said, no. He said, but this is, they understand, you know, I mean, they got to take this on. Because I'm doing it for who? For them. So they have to be co-sharers in the karma. And Narada said, well, if I were you, I'd go check that shit out. So Valmiki went home and he asked, and so he was talking to his wife, and he was confessing. He said, beloved, do you know how I've been making a living all these years? He said, no, I don't know how you go out, you get the food, you bring it back, man. What else is there to say? I'm saying, you doing, he said, you doing your job. He said, beloved, you know, I'm a robber, I'm a dacoit, and a murderer. This is how I get the money to buy the food and the pretty little saris. And I'm creating a lot of bad karma as a result of this. Would you share some of that with me? And she said, are you crazy? You my husband, you're supposed to take care of me. But I ain't got nothing to do with how you do that. Eyes on you, right? But you supposed to do that, take care of me and these kids. So she said, hell no. That's what most wives will do. Then he went to his mother and told her the same thing. And she said, this is what you have turned into, all this work I put into to raise you. I didn't raise you like this, to be this. No, hell no, I'm not accepting none of the consequences of your actions. In fact, I'm ashamed of you. And so on and so forth. So you can imagine, after he inquired with the rest of the family members, you see, Valmiki had an insight, and he went back to Narada, right? In his absence, Naradaji told him, I ain't going nowhere, just tie me to this tree, I'll wait. You know, you come back, you kill me too, you take the man with you, tie me up, and then holler at me after you make this experiment, right? So he came humbly walking back, you see, and he bowed down to Narada, he says, initiate me. Now, Narada was a follower of Rama. Rama was the mantra, right? And in that initiation order, you could not give that mantra Rama to a person like that, who had fulfilled none of the basic qualifications. Clearly, he'd been a robber and a dacoit. So instead of teaching him the Sri Rama, Hat, Sri Rama, blah, 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 he told him to repeat the mantra backwards. And that's what he did. So he sat down in the forest, they say, and an anthill grew up around him. If you look at pictures representing Valmiki, you'll see this anthill, and on the top is here. And he became enlightened. One day he heard a voice that said, get up, my son, you have become a sage. And he was startled. I'm a sage? He said, yes, you're a sage now. You see, you've been sitting so long, you've been faithfully repeating, because you become that upon which you meditate, any way it goes. Meditate on God, you become God. You absorb those qualities. That's the secret of meditation. You become that upon which you meditate. And since he's meditating on the name of Rama, you see, which is a representation of Rama, you see, he became infused with all the qualities of Rama. You see, the Adi Guru, right? And so the name for an anthill was Valmiki, and that's what he was called. You see? And he wrote Yoga Rasisa, and glorification of Rama. So forth and so on. I'm going off a little bit on a tangent here, but I thought maybe something should be said for the benefit of those of you who think you're too good for karma yoga, or raja yoga, jhana yoga. You know, you see what I'm saying? You need to understand what this is. This ain't no sentimentality. This ain't no emotionalism. You see, first it must be this I to be just awesome. And when that happens to you, you glorify. That's all you do. You glorify. You're not out. You play that Venus, glorifying. You see? You're none. You walking through the punjab with your musician, playing them drums, singing the praises and stuff. You glorify him. Are you with me? You bhaktas, or whatever. You ain't doing no glorification. You glorifying yourself. You too busy glorifying yourself to glorify God. Is that about right?
That's right.
You pondering on your greatness. I'm a great scholar, I'm a great speaker, I'm pretty, I'm handsome. You ain't glorifying no God. Are you with me? I'm not going to take you through all of this talk. You see, I don't want to scare you away. Glorification, worship, puja. That's why you see in a lot of cultures, both Hindu and indigenous African cultures and other indigenous cultures, the practice starts first with puja. You get into a worshipful state of mind. You see? The invocation, you see? Guru Rama. You see? God is Guru, right? Guru Vishnu. Vishnu just represents that aspect of God that sustains. Follow me? So forth and so on. Guru Deva Maheshwara. You see? Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. That God was right here before my very eyes. But only a bhakta can see God before his or her very eyes. Right? You understand what I'm saying? So, I mean, there's something of a puja that you do. You see, you just don't get up. Because in your coolness, when I was regular and functional, but you left out, you slept really. And you don't put that in your report. You leave me to assume. No picture. You see? No worship. Bhakti yogi. That's worship. You understand? You see the difference? Now, there's a lot more that can be said, right? Sacrifice of self or ego. Complete sacrifice. No self-concern. None. This is why I brought it down. No self-concern. You don't give a damn. You're like Mirabai. You don't care how he keeps you. Keep me rich, keep me poor, keep me sick, keep me healthy. I don't care. Just keep me. Are you with me? No conditions. Thy will be done in my life. You see? You understand? That ain't like you. You full of conditions. Aren't you?
Yes.
No. This is Bhakti Yoga. Same being bag. This ain't philosophy. You understand the difference? Do y'all really understand the difference?
Yes.
So you gotta have, I'm only talking to you about this because you gotta have a little of this. You don't have to have the Mirabai, the Sahajobai, Hyphen, the Rumi level, but you gotta have some of this. It can't all be arithmetic and math. It can't all be calculations. Sooner or later your heart has to come into it. Are you with me? Mm-hmm. So, let me stop before Bilal starts crying.
Only got 3 minutes.
So, any questions, though? Let's get ready to dismiss because it's 6 o'clock and I know you all got to go places, I do too. But I'm hoping that something has been said here today that will serve you on the next day that you set aside to do your personal retreat, that will help you overcome this misidentification with the not self and recover the recognition of me self and thus be happy. You see? It may take you many more retreat days to get there. So keep that in mind. So don't limit yourself and say, well, I'm going to do 5 more retreats and if I ain't got it by then. No, it's not going to work that way. You see? You got to be really like a bhakta. See, a bhakta goes, whatever it takes. Either reach that or die, whichever comes first. That's bhakti yoga mentality. I will attain it or die, whichever comes first. There is no time. You don't function in time. You follow me? You understand? Yes. So that's what you have to bring to this thing. So I'm pretty much going to stop here. Maybe if you all found this useful, maybe down the road we can sometime get together. Sometimes it's good to get together as a mahakula, you see, and feed off of each other's energy, you see. So that's been my goal. So, let's call it.